This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, a.k.a. the Python Hyena. And folks, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is celebrating its 45th anniversary this year. I was 2 years old in 1974 when that film came out. I did not see it at that age. No. But I've had a number of the guests from that film on here. Terry McMinn has graced her presence on the show twice. John Dugan's been on here. And we have the driver of the van himself on here. Yes, we have Allen Danziger. Danziger. I'm sorry. I knew I was going to flub that up.
No problem.
And you know what? Just in case, we got Advil, Tylenol, aspirin, all that stuff on hand, just in case your head is throbbing from the memories.
I can use it.
So how's it? What's it like where you're at right now?
Well, you mean weather-wise?
Yeah.
Actually, we had a cold front come in last night and had some rain, which we haven't had in a while, and it went from like 90 degrees to 47 degrees in the morning.
Oh,
and
wow.
that's unusual because, I mean, we've had like a really hot summer, and so it's kind of really refreshing to have a change of pace and cool down, especially with Halloween coming up. It's a good time.
Yes. Well, before we talk about Texas Chainsaw, I'd love to get a little bit of your background and how you got into the industry, because I understand you're retired now from it. Is that right?
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, I'm looking into doing a few things, but as far as how I got, it's really a fluke, because originally I'm from a small Texas town in the Bronx, New York, and I came down to go to graduate school at the University of Texas, and in doing that, originally I majored in social psychology and social work, and when I was doing social work, I met a young couple that were volunteers in a program that I was heading up, and it was David and Amy, and through them I met Tobe Hooper, who was doing a feature film. In fact, his first feature film was a film called Eggshells.
Let me guess, that's about breakfast, isn't it?
Yeah. Very good guess. And it was his first movie, and I think about 30 or 40 people saw that movie. But after that, and that movie was like what they call cinema verite, where there's no lines. They just say, this is the scene, and you improvise whatever you're going to do. And I guess because of that, they liked what I did. And so when they wrote Chainsaw, they came to me with the script and said, we want you to play this part. And that's how that started.
What was it like working with Tobe Hooper? Because we just recently lost him.
How was it like? It was different. He was a somewhat difficult kind of guy in some ways, but he was very nice to me. Okay. So I really had no problems, with Tobe, during the movie, other than there was one day, in fact, it's my favorite scene at the gas station, which is in Bastrop now, and that's become like a destiny place for people that love the movie, go to Texas and go to Bastrop to visit the gas station. And the fellow that owns it, a guy named Roy Rose, did a beautiful job in resurrecting it, and he's got cabins on the premises so people can stay there and and enjoy themselves. And during the filming of that scene, something happened, and both myself and Bill Vale, who plays Kirk, we lost it, and we just started laughing, and we just couldn't stop, and it ended up where Tobe walked off the set.
Oh.
and Kim had to finish it up. But other than that, I had no problems with Tobe.
You know what? I've heard similar stories about him, and but no, I've got the movie home on Blu-ray, and lots of supplement materials on that film. But of course, they say it's based on the story of Ed Gein. Of course, they track that back to Psycho as well, and a little bit of Silence of the Lambs. what were your thoughts when you got the script? And did you know all the variations of the true story and the details on that?
No, I really didn't. I didn't really know about Ed Gein or any of that. I remember getting the script, and I was living in an apartment in Austin, and I read it. I just couldn't put it down. That part I remembered. It just captivated me, and I just sat there for a couple of hours and read it, and then I went and said, "Hey, I'll do it. Sounds like it'd be fun to do." So that was that, and then they had like a cast get together, and we all got to meet each other, and then filming started, shooting pretty soon. It happened really quick. I think there was like a 6-week window to put this whole thing together, and it was in July, so it was a brutally hot summer.
Yes.
When we shot the movie, and I mean, and you can tell people were sweaty, we're on edge. It just was a difficult time.
Yes. Well, you get a splitting headache in that film. I gotta say, talk about shooting that scene.
Yeah.
The setup for that.
I'm sorry, what?
Talk about the setup and the shooting of your death scene in the movie.
Well, that really, I think, is where I felt like I did the only acting that I think I did, and I, prior to my death scene, I hadn't seen Gunner or Leatherface in his costume or what he looked like or anything, and so we were at the house, and they said, "Well, we're getting ready to shoot your scene," and so what I did is I asked them if they could just, blindfold me and just leave me on the porch, so I can get myself, ready for this. Is what I refer to as the Stanislavski Method. Not that I knew anything about it, but I just remembered that term. And so I, was blindfolded and sat there. I guess it seemed like an eternity, but probably was about a half hour. And then they said everything is set up. They took the blindfold off, and I proceeded to go into the house and walk through it, and then into the kitchen or whatever that was. And I see the hook, and then I see the ice chest or ice whatever that beat the chest, and it's shaking. And then I open it up, and she pops up, and then I turn around and I start, to see Leatherface, and I started screaming even before he was in the shot. Even before, he had the hammer raised, I was going crazy. And they had to cut, cut, and they had to do it several times. It took so many takes to calm me down that at the right time, there were actually two guys behind me, and when he comes down with the hammer, they pulled me down.
Okay.
By my belt loops. That's how that shot got taken.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there's very little blood in this film. I think
Exactly.
a lot of people, I think it's in the imagination because it's such a brutal story, but you don't see a lot of blood.
Virtually none. In fact, I've seen some of these later ones. They've been showing them on the Sci-Fi Channel. I can't believe how much blood is in these other movies, and they're not nearly as good as the original.
No. Well, you find Terry McMinn in the freezer, and I've had Terry on here twice, and she is absolutely lovely. And, of course, she is the meat hook victim. She got us all hooked. Talk about working with her.
Oh, it was great. I mean, actually we bonded real well as far as Terry and Kirk and I became good friends. We didn't really pal out with the killers, like Gunner and the other people. And Franklin was such a good actor and so obnoxious that we didn't pal out together either with him. And then Marilyn or Sally in the movie, actually, we really weren't that friendly. And I can't tell you all the reasons because, I mean, later on I realized really what a sweetheart she was. She really was. But during the filming, I guess there were other things going on so that we really weren't that close. I felt closer to, to Kirk and to Terry and also to Ed Neal, the hitchhiker. We had a lot of laughs together because I knew him in my other work. that with my other business, I had an entertainment company, and Ed did some stuff for me.
Yeah. Well, of course, you're driving the van, and you learn very quickly don't pick up hitchhikers.
Oh yeah, that was it. After that movie, never picked up another hitchhiker.
Especially if it's Ed Neal.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I've heard stories about Paul Bartain, and he's unfortunately gone now.
Mm-hmm.
But, watching him in that scene where he's by himself at the bottom part of the house there, and that verbal rant he does.
Yeah. No, he was great. I mean, everybody was, in a way, I think it really was well cast, fortuitously. And Gunnar, who played Leatherface, really was a gentle giant, really a bright guy, and we became good friends after the movie was over.
Yes, and of course Ed Neal. Of course. Oh, I was going to mention. Go look at the IMDb. Jim Sido.
Yeah.
I've heard that between takes he would always, like when he was doing the abuse on Marilyn. I always heard that between takes he'd be like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Did I hurt you?"
Right.
Yeah, I heard he was a really nice guy.
Mm-hmm. Well, to go back to the gas station for a minute,
mm-hmm.
There's the scene, where we're there, and then he comes over to the van, to ask what we're doing, and we say we need gas, and he says we got no gas. Are you familiar with that scene?
Yep, I am.
Okay, and then while he's doing that, then this kind of a troll-like figure who is a friend of Marilyn's got it, and he comes over to the van and he sloshes it with dirty, soapy water.
Mm-hmm.
You know that scene?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Yeah.
So when he's doing that, I inadvertently hit the windshield wiper,
mm-hmm.
and the windshield wiper goes and just splashes all this soapy water on Jim Sedow's face, and he's trying to deliver his line, and there's just soapy water running down his face, and that was it for us. We couldn't keep it together.
Yeah, that was a very it's not as dark as what's to come, but it really sets
mm-hmm.
it up, because even the people that are around, like the people laying down on the ground that look half drunk out of their minds, it kind of sets up what kind of town you're in,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, actually, one of the actors in that scene is in the pickup, and his name is John Henry Falk, and he was a brilliant raconteur and writer that I really enjoyed meeting him and hearing his stories on the way out to the different locations while we were shooting the movie. So that was really a big kick for me to meet him. I had heard of him on radio in New York when I was as a kid growing up. I had heard him, so it really was a treat to meet him.
Yes. I've had John Dugan on here, and he talked about 7 hours of makeup they put on him to turn him into Grandpa. Were you there for any of that?
No. Fortunately, I really was spared, even being in the house with the smell of the place and because my shooting was mainly outside,
mm-hmm.
and until, I have to go into my demise,
mm-hmm.
So I didn't really experience the stuff that Terry went through and Marilyn. They were a wreck when the movie was over.
After your character is killed, it's like they're in trouble, because it's just Marilyn and Paul, and it's like, they're already in trouble because, of course, Paul's in a wheelchair. And
yeah.
It's
not good.
Yep.
It's not a good thing going on after I'm gone.
Yep. So it's like everybody goes into that house. It's like, don't. it's already a weird enough vibe. Did you see the room that had all the bones on the floor there that Terry was in? Or
no.
That was a great scene. That was just the sound of that scene alone is just yeah. So what would you say was the hardest part of your filming? I know you've talked about some stuff that was difficult for you.
I think being in the van, all day long in that kind of heat, with other people in there with the lights and the cameras and shooting that and doing a bunch of the takes and then waiting to when they set up for the other take. That was a little bit difficult, but overall, really, I loved every minute of it.
And
it was new. It was new for me. I mean, I'd never done other than fortuitously being in Tobe's first movie, Eggshells. I wasn't an actor or anything like that. So it was all new to me, and as a result, I really enjoyed it.
Then you're still pretty close to these actors even today, right?
Well, I'm in touch with Terry on a regular basis, and Ed, when we see each other at these conventions, and then through texting or email. John, I've seen at a couple of the conventions, and I am friendly with Bill Vale. We're in touch. We're in touch on a regular basis. He lives in I think in Seattle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't had Bill or Ed on the show. Yep. But although I have tried to reach Ed Neal, though, but I don't know how often he's on Facebook, and I don't have him on my friends list.
Yeah, but I mean, I think he does a lot of conventions and stuff like that. So I'm sure, you can somehow get in touch with him.
Yeah, I could probably find him somewhere at the side of the road.
Yeah.
With his thumb out. Yeah, and Terry also suggested Ed Gwynn, the trucker, as well.
Yeah, he lives here in Austin, and it's been several months since I've talked to him, so I'm not really in touch with him often, but he's also really a nice guy.
Yeah, I did hear back from him. It's just a matter of getting our dates together, but I definitely heard from him. So you get a show coming up with Ed Neal, is that right?
Yeah, actually tomorrow afternoon in Kingsland at the house where the movie was shot. Originally, that house was in Round Rock, and then they moved it to Kingsland, where it's now the Grand Central Cafe, and they've embraced the movie, and so they're doing an outdoor showing of it, and they invited me out to do an autograph signing along with Ed. So it should be fun, and we're looking forward to it.
Let me guess, you're picking him up at the side of the road, aren't you?
No, I'll just meet him out there.
What is Ed like? Because he seems so out there in the movies, and you see him with these flashy-looking shirts when you see him at these convention shots. What is he like?
He is just like you see him. He is out there. But
so
he's really a talented guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's great. And then fans line up. They love him.
Well, it was 1986 when the sequel came out, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. It had Caroline Williams in it, and it had Dennis Hopper they got in that.
Yeah.
Did you see any of the sequels?
I actually just saw it for the first time last week.
The second one?
Yeah.
How far out is that they got Dennis Hopper in that?
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that.
I don't think it's nearly as good as the first film, but I gotta say, if they're gonna have somebody go mad and go after Leatherface's family, why not Dennis Hopper?
I know, it's surprising. I don't know how they got him, but they got him.
They got him all right.
Well, and then look at it with the other one, the beginning with they had Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
And and people don't really remember that movie. But whatever has come out since, it seems amazing that the original is what captures people's imagination the most.
Well, it looked like it was shot kind of in a documentary kind of style. I like that. Yeah. You remember anything about John Larroquette doing the voiceover at the beginning? No.
See, all of that took place after that. I think what really made that movie is the way it was edited, the added stuff that they did, those scenes at the beginning, the voiceover and the scrolling that John Larroquette. I mean, that to me is what really made the movie. That was brilliant. And then the name change to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes, absolutely.
That was brilliant. That was brilliant.
Yeah. Well, we have lost a few people from that movie. You know, Marilyn is gone, and Gunnar is gone, and Paul is gone, and Jim is gone, and you know.
Well, I was just remarking that the first convention that I did was in 2004, and there were 6 of us there. It was myself, Gunnar, Marilyn, Paul Partain, Ed Neal, and Robert Burns, who did the props. He was brilliant.
Okay.
And of the 6 people that were at that convention, just Ed and I are the last of the Mohicans.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Terry has done a few of the conventions as well.
Yeah, she wasn't at that one.
Yeah.
You know, and there was a couple of, but of the 6 of us original that were there, just Ed and I are the only ones left.
That is sad.
So I'm glad I'm able to talk with you, that I'm still vertical.
Well, yes, that is great. I was going to say, when you do these conventions, I ask this of all my guests, and I'm always tickled by any responses, but what's the most unusual thing you've ever been asked to sign?
Well, I mean, there, signing, casts or parts of bodies and stuff like that.
Do you ever see people come back with your name tattooed on them?
I haven't seen my name tattooed yet. I think, but I've seen Leatherface's name, his face tattooed, and stuff. That's a common occurrence, or a chainsaw or whatnot. But no.
Now, you've attended these with a lot of the other castmates. You ever remember any experience sitting alongside them signing, like any unusual experience with signings?
No, I mean, it just brings back good memories, and when we're there, people ask if if they could take a picture with us together and stuff like that. So we do group pictures, and then we've done panels, and I'm just really amazed how nice people are. Horror fans, they're incredible.
They are
incredible.
I just started doing the conventions myself in 2017. I was invited by one of my guests to assist her, and it was the first time I'd ever been out of New Brunswick here, and it was like, wow, the fans of horror films are so friendly. They're so innovative.
Yeah.
And they really go all out. I was to one Comic-Con and 2 Horror-Ramas. And although Comic-Con was fun, I found the 2 Horror-Ramas I was at was a lot more intimate. I was able to talk to any of the guests without butting anybody out of the way. It was just really cool that way. So what has it been like for you since Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Well, I mean, it took, it's almost like it took 30 years, before the movie started to, I guess, become a cult favorite. So, I mean, I went on, with my life. I did social work, and then I started my own entertainment business. And then I'd heard about some things going on, or, Gunnar would tell me about, he was doing, these horror conventions. And, I mean, it took a number of years, and he finally said, Alan, I think you should do one. And I said, okay. And I really didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I'd be meeting, serial killer wannabes, at these things. But that's when I went to the Cinema Wasteland, and the response and just meeting the people was just like an eye opener for me. I just had a great time.
Did you ever watch the film with fans at one of these?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it at UT, at the Student Union, where people had these toy chainsaws, and they knew the lines, they knew my lines, and I mean, it was like the Rocky Horror Show.
Yeah.
That kind of response. And then just a couple of weeks ago, they had a 4K version of it at the Austin Film Festival, and I went there. It was in an afternoon, so it wasn't packed, but there's still a lot of fans there, and that was fun.
Did you go to the premiere of the film when it came out originally?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Friends of mine rented a limo for me. And it was great. It was a great night in a lot of ways.
A limo, not the van?
No limo.
That van didn't have any gas in it, you
No,
know.
no. And no air conditioning, so I was happy to be out of there.
Yeah, that thing was just nothing but trouble. Upgrade to a limo. Just don't pick up Ed Neal.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's funny. Here's something I did hear from Terry last time I talked to her, and I found this interesting, but not surprising because I hear stories like this all the time. That when the Texas Chainsaw 3D came out, they have, of course, some archive footage, a lot of it from the original film, and she said that's where she gets a lot of her residuals just from that.
I think we got more money from not being in the movie to what we got from being in the movie in the original, So and they just showed it. I actually got to see it again a few days ago, and we're in at the very beginning.
Yeah, I think Alexandria Daddario is gorgeous, but I gotta say, and Terry and I had this conversation, they really screwed up the timeline with that movie because there's no way that she would be a baby at the end of that first film and modern look like Alexandria Daddario. It's just, it made no sense. Yeah. What do you think of the movies that came after? Pro, con?
The what?
Pros or cons on the movies that came after?
I hadn't seen any of them.
Okay.
Up until just a few days ago, and I just I could watch it, but I kind of lost interest, or it was just too much gore. It's just hard to compare it to the original. That's all I can say.
I've always wondered how Ed Neal's character was in the second film after what happened in the first film.
Yeah.
That kind of didn't make any sense to me.
No.
He ended up on his back.
That was, I think, Chop Top, or the guy Bill Moseley actually does a good impersonation of Ed Neal. Actually, he does a pretty good impersonation, I thought.
Oh wow. So,
but again, even the Leatherfaces after, Gunner is the icon.
Yes. Oh yes, Gunner. Gunner was great. A big guy, and he was very much loved at these conventions. Yeah. I tell you, watching him just grab Terry McMinn and just carry her into that house under his arm, it's like, I'd say he was pretty strong.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah. Well,
smart and real smart.
Yeah, that's what I hear,
Did you read his book, Texas Chainsaw Confidential?
Yes, I've got that home. Okay. I read that, and I know that he was very hot, very sweaty under all that costume.
Yeah.
Yep. I think I might have read. Now, I only read that once, but I've still got it home. Did he not pass out or something like that? Or maybe he did hit one of the door frames or something.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe when he was chasing Marilyn, maybe I misread something or heard something wrong, but I get the feeling that was pretty grueling shoot.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. So other than this convention, what else is up in the future?
Well, I'm doing another convention in February, and with the help of a webmaster, John, I've got my own website up now, and it's chainsawjerry.com. And then I'll be able to have things where people can purchase online, photos on chainsaw pins and other merchandise, and I'm actually also hoping that we might be able to bring out Chainsaw Jerry's beef jerky at some point.
That's right. I read something about that. Talk about his beef jerky. Is there something different about this type of beef jerky?
Well, I think it's going to be, as I refer to it, as a cut above the rest.
Okay. Well, Terry McMinn...
And no human parts. No human
parts. Well, Terry McMinn has done something quite interesting after that. She got I think she says Pam Lives or something like that, where she writes these. I guess she's got like 3 stories that you can purchase of what happened with Pam, and says, well, Pam survives, that she didn't die. Did you ever hear about these, or did you ever see these?
No. She's mentioned it to me, and then I've had a couple of people think that I still may have lived, after the shot.
You think so?
But not that I'm aware of.
You think Kirk lived?
Unfortunately, no.
you don't.
There's no way for Kirk.
Yeah. You don't think he survived in 2 or 3 halves?
No. But that scene where he gets it, and then you see him shaking. Everybody else started to, adapt that style of dying in the movie. Where their legs start twitching and shaking, and it's not the Isley brothers, but it's interesting.
Did he come up with that on his own, or was that in the script?
No, we just talked about it. I thought, but he said it was Tobe's idea.
Tobe's idea. Well, it worked.
Yeah,
that worked. I tell you, when you hear weird noises and a room behind a door like that, go the other way.
Yeah.
Leave.
In fact, my parents were retired in Florida, and I think it's on the website. They ended up seeing the movie back then. It's 1974, so they ended up seeing it in the porno theater. And it was double billed. And the second film was Debbie Does Dialysis.
I'll take
and when it's my time to die, and I'm going, my mom gets up and starts screaming shouting at the screen for me not to go into the theater, not to go into the house, but to no avail. You
didn't listen. You got to listen to your mom.
You didn't listen to your mom.
And of course, they say you should never hit a guy with glasses. I guess Leatherface doesn't listen to that.
No.
Yeah, your glasses didn't help you any.
No.
Well, you know what? When this is all ready to go, you're more than welcome to put it on the website.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah, let me know when you know how to reach me. So,
let me know.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I got your email address, so I would be more than happy to allow you to put this on there. Do you have any charities that you're involved in that you'd like to plug on here?
Not at this time, but I've been thinking about it.
Well, you mentioned you were into social work. Is that something to do with Ed?
Well, I had started, some programs on my own. At the time, back in the 70s, I worked with mentally challenged children, and so we did a program called the Big Buddy program that I started. It was kind of like an offshoot of the Big Brother program, but I'm not even sure if that's still going on. But if I was going to say a charity like Big Brothers or Big Sisters, anything that helps the youth is I'm all for.
Yeah, I can't help but rib Ed Neal. He just opens himself up to it.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you two have a great time there tomorrow. When you see him tomorrow, tell him I would love to have him on the show.
Sure.
Yeah. I've had Terry on twice. I've had you on. I've had John Dugan on.
Yeah.
So I don't bite, although I have never heard back from him. But I don't know how often he's on Facebook or whatnot. But we are on that 45th anniversary, and there's no time like the present.
I'll mention it to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else you want to plug before?
No. I think that's about it. That's about it. I'm good.
Oh, wow. Well, you know what? Before I let you go, would you mind very much doing a plug for my show?
Okay. Yeah, this is Allen Danziger. I played Jerry in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I'm on Greg Gilbert's radio show, Python's Paradise, in New Brunswick, Canada.
Well, thank you so much, Allen, for coming on here today, and I hope you have a blast at that screening tomorrow, and I hope the convention in February finds you well, and I hope this website is a success for you.
Thanks a lot, Greg. Pleasure to talk with you, and to all your fans that listen to your show. You take care now.
Absolutely. You take care, and remember, take your aspirin, your Tylenol, if you have.
As we speak.
Just in case deja vu happens.
Or Vujade. All right, guy. Take care.
You too. Take care. God bless.
You too. Bye-bye.